Rishi Sunak on our screen now. He went to the Akshardham temple early in the morning.
He's got a kalava on his wrist also, apparently. That's going to become a talking point.
And no other leader has attracted as many eyeballs as Rishi Sunak on this visit. I mean, he's been here and there and everywhere. In 48 hours, he's been to a school, he's been to the British Council, he's been to Akshardham.
He's also feeling comfortable here. He's feeling warm, he's feeling welcome.
And you know, for Indians also, I think it's a moment of pride. You know, to see someone of Indian origin there as the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. I mean, you know, Rishi Sunak can't go too wrong.
So he's got those religious threads on his wrist and some rakhis, I think.
And now he gets. Can we just have the audio up if possible? Are we still getting that? Because he's getting the tour of Akshardham. He's getting the tour now of the Sabarmati Ashram. Okay, so it's interesting. I thought he'd, like Ajay Banga or somebody would say, I know quite a bit about this, but he's soaking it all in. He went to the Akshardham temple this morning, and he always gets this little bit of an extra conversation with the Prime Minister, obviously talking a bit about, you know, the role that Mahatma Gandhi would have played. He's a very well-read man.
And he's the youngest, 42. At 42, I think he's the youngest member of this gathering at the moment. Will face a very difficult year ahead. Re-election won't be easy for the Conservatives in 2024, end 2024, early 2025.
Joko Widodo, President of Indonesia, he just hosted the ASEAN Summit. Now coming on the screen, known back home as Joko V. Again, a country that we're building very close ties with. Re-elected in 2019 for a second 5-year term. The Indonesian president right now in front of this image of the Sabarmati Ashram.
Second time that the Prime Minister is meeting him in about 72 hours after the ASEAN Summit.
And Rahul, you made a good point yesterday about, you know, his sort of transition to the new Indonesia, woodcutter's son.
Sure, absolutely.
And therefore, you've got a lot of leaders of countries which came out of independence in the 40s and 50s. The earlier generation leaders were seen as part of the old elite. And now you've got a completely new generation, all of them born after their countries got independence, coming out of that period where the colonial era still dominated the politics, to a new generation. And Prime Minister Modi, some believe, also represents in his own way that generation. And so does Widodo.
His family, his son and daughter-in-law, went to Taj Mahal, to Agra. The lovely pictures, we'll have them out for you, Shiv, in just a moment, where they're at the Taj Mahal, soaking it in. So a lot of these other people who are part of the troop get a chance to go out and about.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And that's something which perhaps some of the leaders will miss out, because it's so cramped. In normal times, when you come to a bilateral in Delhi, traditionally you went to Agra and got your one photo up.
But
with
this
your
government's
wife.
not very hot on sending people to Agra.
This government's not very hot, but I'm sure people would love to. You know, the visiting dignitaries would love to go.
But there's so much more to India than just the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is lovely, of course, but it's not the only thing that you want to send everybody to.
Well, if you ask someone, you know, you are to come to India and you want them to see 3 landmarks, would the Taj feature in them or not?
What will be the other 2?
Now I'm asking you, would the Taj feature in them?
Of course.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you ask somebody, a friend wants to come to India and he says, tell me 3 places I must visit, I think the Taj would be very much still there. It's a magnificent monument of a kind that you don't have in the country.
If time is of
in the world, rather.
If time is of essence and there's a shortage of time, they can also go to the Humayun's tomb. We understand that
it's magnificent.
Might be
and the Argentinian president went there as well.
No, it's a magnificent monument. The Taj is the Taj. There's the Humayun's tomb, and it just takes a couple of hours on the freeway. I mean, if you are here for a weekend to Delhi, you can do Humayun's tomb and you can do the Taj.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, and you'll be in the Taj. So, well, the Indonesians got it right.
And we're seeing, Gaurav, the Indonesians push back. A lot of these ASEAN countries are pushing back against China much more than we've seen them push back so far.
Well, after the new Chinese map, the world is alarmed, and the 9-dash line, then the 10-dash line, they're claiming territory and exclusive economic zone of multiple countries. So Philippines is up in arms, Indonesia is up in arms, and increasingly they're seeking Indian help. Like you were mentioning, this BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, something that India is not only promising but also delivering. Vietnam's getting them, offshore petrol vessels, other ships in this region, and increasingly, you know, when when India and France talk today, there will be a major conversation about more patrolling in the South China Sea to ensure sea lanes of communication are kept open. So Rahul, this is extremely important that democracies unite to take on an expansionist China. And if I may, just a small aside, visiting dignitaries in and around Delhi are compelled to watch, see perhaps the Humayun tomb and Taj Mahal, because a lot of other things were destroyed after centuries of Islamic rule, and that's why perhaps they haven't been able to go to other places, not many other temples in and around. But if you go down, there's Hampi you can go to, there's the Meenakshi temple you can go to, there's Thanjavur you can go to. There are so many temples and so beautiful and so many other sites that they can see, and far more ancient and better than just the Taj Mahal.
Gaurav, my friend, you and I will have a separate debate on that one day. I think India's glory lies in your ability to go to Hampi and to the Taj. And I think if you can discover both, but Hampi needs to be better connected. The problem with Hampi is it's very badly connected even today. You need a proper airport that takes people to Hampi, and I hope that happens. I hope the Karnataka government does that, and I hope that that we have an airport with daily flights to Hampi.
There's a new airport in Shimoga, and hopefully will be more connected.
Yeah, because you see, at the moment, otherwise to Hampi, you either have to, there's a private airfield that the Jindals have built close by. But otherwise it's tough to reach there.
The President of France, there'll be a...
Who wasn't there yesterday morning, right?
He came a little
late. He arrived a little late.
Yeah.
But he's staying back in the afternoon.
He has a big working lunch with the Prime Minister today.
The Prime Minister was in Paris a few months ago for Bastille Day.
Yeah.
And and Macron's had a tough time within his own country, dealing with tensions and violence that was immigrant violence that took place not too long ago in their country as well. He's had a rough time, but comes out stronger.
France. The interesting thing is yesterday when that international the infrastructure corridor was being spoken of, he spoke in English. So, some other French leaders were very prickly about speaking in English. He was fine. It wasn't long intervention, short intervention, but he was happy to speak English. Warm welcome. Happy to see Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Modi.
Yeah.
Shiv, happy to see Emmanuel Macron.
Big year for India, France. The Bastille Day parade, where the Indian armed forces were present there. We had ships in France on the day. India and France have just begun talking about a second Rafale deal, which nobody thought was going to be possible after all the politics over the original Rafale deal in 2018-2019. So this is a relationship that's been sweetened by the strategic relationship between the two countries. This is a friendship that goes back a long way.
And another leader from this sort of 40s generation. You've got these 3 or 4 young leaders, all in their 40s. Macron, 46, born in 1977. So, when you look at it, you recognize Europe in particular seems to be embracing a completely new generation of
Meloni,
leaders.
Sunak,
just look at across
Macron.
Europe. You're getting more and more leaders who are born post 1970, which is quite remarkable because that means in the early 40s and 50s, they're already leading their country. It's a lesson for us sometimes. Our politics tends to remain a little geriatric, if I may be allowed to use the word.
It doesn't matter how the age, as long as the man can get the job done. I mean,
by and large, but you want, we keep mentioning how we are the youngest, we have the largest young population in the world, but in contrast to that, most of our politicians are over the age of 60. I would like to see many more younger 40 and 50-year-olds taking greater leadership positions.
Who's experienced, who's won himself, not appointed, and who can get the job done. I think that's far more important.
Yeah, well, yes and no. At the end of the day, I think a younger leader across the world. One of the reasons why younger leaders are attractive is because there is a younger demographic out there.
But as long as the younger leader gets elected himself. Rajiv Gandhi was very young, but he was also very inexperienced and made lots of bloopers.
I think Rajiv Gandhi is an outlier. The reason why he became Prime Minister in 84 didn't have to do with a long period in politics. He just entered in 81. But I'm just mentioning the fact that Europe has a lot of young leaders out there is a sign of the times. And I think that's one thing that we've always... Maybe in India we value age and experience. That's why I can survive.
As long as
That's why I can survive in a television studio at the age of 58. Otherwise... you'd think, and that's the contrast. Look at BBC's presenters, they're all in their 60s. But their leadership is increasingly younger. You look at the battle that's taking place for the Labour Party, even within the Conservatives, all 40-year-olds who are now, fiercely competing with each other.